Welcome everyone to We Are Endurance webinar series. I am very excited to introduce you to Craig Dinkel, who is the CEO of biotropiclabs.com. And I'm going to actually turn it over to you, Craig. I'd love to hear about your background and, tell us first about yourself, and then we'll get into your company.
Yeah, I'm not all that interesting. I'm just another someone out there in the world that was trying to get something done. And I was competing on a high level. And the object, if you're watching, by the way, if you're getting a chance to watch the Olympic trials right now, they're happening all week on NBC. The swimmers are up, and I think the runners are starting toward the end of the week. So it's a great opportunity to see where competitive edges really matter. Some people are winning their events by 1/100ths of a second, 100th of a second, barely making the team, and some people are barely missing the team. And so it was with that idea in mind when I was trying to get onto a couple of teams that I was looking for competitive edges and did a bunch of research to put some natural ingredients together that might give me that edge. And I was a swimmer, sprint freestyler. And at that time, I was working with a nutritionist, doctor, chiropractor, who was very involved in helping me succeed, and a gifted nutritionist. And we just sort of, over a period of time of experimenting, fell ass backwards into something that worked on my chemistry. And I really believe that all natural supplements, and frankly, even illegal substances to some degree, are personal chemistry dependent. So not everything's going to work on you anyway. But I found some things that worked on me, and it gave me a huge lift in my training. And when that career ended, I went off to do 100 different things. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided to bring them forward to help athletes, because I really, I really resonate with the athlete community. I understand what they go through. I know what training looks like. I know what it means to sacrifice your whole life for athletics at a high level. And I wanted to, I don't know why, had a moment of altruism, I guess, and I wanted to reach back to the community and help any way I could. So I brought my formulations forward in an effort to try to help people get better training outcomes, which would ostensibly give them better competitive outcomes if they could train harder and better at higher levels. So that's sort of a 30,000-foot view of my background and why I did this.
All right, so let's talk about supplements. I mean, supplements get a bad rap, right? They, people hear supplements and they think, oh, can't do that. Can you talk a little bit about that, address that?
I can't even understand why anyone would think twice about not doing it, because you have nothing to lose, nothing at all to lose. So my view has always been, look, a lot of people don't believe in it. You shouldn't take them if you don't believe it. This is a real binary way to look at it. And because there's, I say, in my view, no risk involved, you should at least try. If you're trying to get something done, which is the language I use, you're trying to win something, you're trying to get a personal best, a personal record, or really, even if you're just training for the fun of it, what is there to lose in feeling a little better when you're training, if you can? I'm not saying you can, and I'm not saying that all supplements work. What I am saying is that there's a lot of good documentation out there that does suggest that a lot of these things do work. Again, they are chemistry dependent. I don't believe something that works on me is necessarily going to work on someone else, vice versa. So you have to experiment. But since there's no loss, there's simply no loss other than a few bucks spent. And of course, everything has a money back guarantee these days. So there's really no loss at all. So I don't think there's any reason not to experiment and play around until you're convinced for you that something doesn't work. And the likelihood is, along the way, if you stick to it, you'll probably find something that does make you feel better in training or in competition, probably. And again, if not, what's gain knowledge, go out there, find out, try it out. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain, really. At the very worst, you gain knowledge, something. And again, I just finalize that by saying that even if they don't work on you, many people do find that they do work on them. And so I think just because you don't, look, they didn't work on me. for years and years and years and years, I took off the shelf stuff. I was a big user for a long, long time, and eventually just stopped because nothing off the shelf worked for me. So I'm in that club. I'm a believer in, hey, none of this. And I did everything. I take 30, 40 pills a day throughout the day for a long time until I just found myself excreting them in every way that a body can naturally excrete vitamins. Until I went into the make it yourself world. And that's when it changed for me. For me, it had to go that way, but I know I'm sort of going long here, but you can buy off the shelf and get great results or no results, and you can make for yourself and get phenomenal results or no results.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of the supplements that you invented? I'm sure you worked with somebody to do this, but.
Yeah, I was lucky, but let me just say one more thing that, as I said a second ago, there's no loss in cost in finding out if natural supplements might work for you. And look at the huge cost when you do it illegally. We just had another American runner banned from this Olympics. Let me see if I can grab her name here, but very talented lady. Give me a second here. Shelby Houlihan just tested positive from a December 20 either urine or blood test, and just came back negative last week. And yesterday she was banned from running at Olympic trials. So there's the loss. There's the loss. Doing it wrong wrecks your life. Now she's doing what all good athletes do. I just sort of stay out of it, but she's blaming it on she keeps a very, very detailed log of what she eats and what she does, which all athletes at the Olympic level must do, because you've got to backward integrate or backward trace stuff when something like this comes up, which is what she did. She has a log, and she blamed it on pork and a pork burrito that she had in December. Okay, maybe, but I don't know that you can get enough of the compound that was in her system from the amount of pork that would have been in her pork burrito. I don't know, but they all do this. They all blame it on a burrito or chicken, something that they ate, and maybe it is, but look at, so anyway.
So what exactly is it? Like, why are they being banned? Like, what are they taking that they're being banned?
Well, her specific substance is listed here. I'll see if I can find it. But the point is, it doesn't, think about it for a second. It doesn't really matter. If it's a banned substance, you can't take it. If it's on the WADA list, the World Anti-Doping Association list, that means it's illegal to take. You can't take it. You can't gain a competitive edge with these substances. You're not allowed to. You are allowed to do it, oddly, with natural substances, as long as it's not on the list. And there are a couple of things, not many, one or two items that are natural that are on the WADA list. So if you're a competitor and if you're going to be having blood tests taken or urine analysis taken, you better know it's on the list to make sure you're not slipping up. To answer your question, what was I looking for? Well, I was a sprinter. I was a sprint freestyler, butterflyer, 50, 100, 200, mostly 50s and 100s. And so my whole world was around blood oxygenation. I needed to find things that, would lift my energy, maintain my energy throughout the day, but primarily get more blood, more oxygenation to my muscles when I was training and when I was competing. So without the benefit of the internet at that time, just a bunch of books and research and really gifted and skilled people, we fell into some of these items, these natural things that do that. So beetroot, for example, is one item that is well known for a long, long time to offer vasodilation, widening of the blood vessels or relaxing of the blood vessels. It's used for blood pressure treatment also. In some cases, natural blood pressure treatment. So that's a great way to relax those blood vessels and get more clean blood to your muscles when you're training and competing. Cordyceps is a fungus that you may or may not be familiar with, that is documented to increase oxygenation. And so I can't think of anything better than getting more oxygen to my muscles especially when I'm sprinting, as much as I can, because that lactic acid is going to be building up and you have to offset that with anything you can, or counter it. You really can't offset it, but counter it. And then, of course, I'm a big believer in iron. Red blood cell development, B9, I believe it's B9 and B12 work, maybe 6, right off the top of my head, it's eluding me, but the B complex of vitamins are very, very important for red blood cell development. Iron for red blood cell development. I use desiccated liver. I was a big believer in desiccated liver in the day, not only for its iron content, but I believe that it's a full electrolyte circuit, natural electrolyte circuit too. The trick with that, speaking of steroids, is you have to make sure that if you're using desiccated liver, that it's hormone-free and ideally grass-fed, so that, because that is a substance which you could accidentally get an illegal substance, an illegal hormone into your body if you were taking large amounts of it, which at one time I was. So I look for things that oxygenate, that give a natural lift. AFA gives a natural lift, well documented, to give a nootropic-like effect, gives a lift and a laser-like focus. So and chlorella, which is known to be a blood detoxifier, binds with heavy metals and toxins in the bloodstream and eliminates it, so you can get cleaner blood moving through your body and ideally deliver cleaner blood to your muscles when you're training. So these are the kind of things that I would look for. Other things like athletes are always walking a fine line between fitness and health. So things like echinacea that help support the immune system, zinc, all of those things that help support the immune system. Boy, you know, when you're training hot and heavy, you know, you're always piling tons of supplements. It seems, anyway, everyone I knew and still know today, got friends at Olympic trials right now that are loading up on natural supplements. Some of them ours. So this hasn't gone away. And some people, frankly, will take it purely for the psychological benefit, even if there's no true physical benefit. There are a lot of people that'll tell you, yeah, I don't know if I feel any difference or not, but I feel like psychologically I want to do it. I feel better if I do it. I may be getting a placebo effect. I may be getting the real effect. I may be getting no effect, but psychologically, it makes a big difference to me. And that itself is a good reason to be doing it. If your mind is such, and mine is that way, that if things add up and they make sense, and the ingredient mix makes sense, and it's healthy and it's good, and I do the research and they all add up to, yeah, this could work, well, I'm okay with that. I'm going to be taken. So a little long-winded there, but I hope I gave you the answer you're looking for.
Anybody have questions before I ask the next question?
Yeah, I have a question. So supplements are not regulated by the FDA, correct?
Correct.
So, and some supplements, if you take them in excess, can actually harm your system. And if you can't rely on the manufacturer's data, how do you protect yourself against, you know, those problems?
Well, that's a great question. It's such a good question because so let's answer it two ways. The first one is I think you were talking about taking too much. I was in that club of taking too much, and there's still a big belief in the world today that overdosing natural supplements is better than underdosing, and that's not true. Taking too much. So I have built my thinking after being a huge doser, because you can see this stuff coming out in your urine when you're peeing. You can see the waste that your body is eliminating it. That's the first sign you're taking too much. So there's a belief out there, and I'm in that crowd, not well known, of finding the lowest dose that gives you the best effect. There's sort of a sweet spot there where too much causes too much digestive tract energy, and that's not a good thing. You don't want your body getting fatigued, digesting and breaking this stuff down. So too much is not a good thing. And again, the hassle here, the pain in the neck here is that you have to take the time to find out where the dosing is, that you're getting enough that's doing the maximum amount for you and not an ounce more. So that just is time, energy, effort, trial, and error. So that's a great question, because too much is not a good thing for various reasons. You're wasting money, you're fatiguing your digestive tract and your entire body, and that doesn't help you in any training, exercise, or competitive event. So great question there. And then you asked the tougher part of that is, well, how do you know who you're buying from? Gee, I don't know really how to answer that, except to say this is another, and there's so much fraud, there's so much scammy crap out there. it's a tough one. You really have to, again, do the research, take the time to really cross compare. And also look at the claims people are making. I'm very clear that everything, for example, this isn't good for business, but my approach is, look, I'm telling you how it worked on me. I don't guarantee anyone anything. I just say, look, I know it worked on me. It took me a long time to sort this out, figure it out. I think it'll work on you. And if it doesn't, send it back. That's my approach, which is a little too, I think, frankly, it's a little too honest. It's not the way business is done out there, right? Most businesses is presenting it, Raymond, the way you sort of presented it. People are just saying anything, and how can you trust them? And it's tough to do due diligence on thousands of companies or hundreds of companies out there. So some of this is just spend a lot of time doing your research, see what people say, how what they say resonates with you. Look at the ingredient mix and see if it all adds up and makes sense to healthy and safe, and give it a try, because one product from one company may not work on you and the same product from another might. That's just a tough one. And I think it's trial and error and good common sense. Use just good thinking. Don't buy from people guaranteeing anything. Other than that, if it doesn't work, send it back. I wish I could give you a better answer than that. But because it's unregulated, I say this is a take your time space. Got to find people who resonate with you. And I'd say one thing you could do is engage in a lot of communication, or reasonable communication with the company. Send emails back and forth. Get a sense of who they are and how they talk about what it is they're doing. And you can draw some conclusions that way, I think. Sorry, Raymond, I wish there were an easier answer. The first part was easy because you're right. Too much is too much, and it can produce actually a negative effect. But how to find trust out there in a $44, $50 billion marketplace where everyone's trying to get your attention can be difficult.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the products that you offer in your business?
Yeah, again, I'm going to repeat that everybody's chemistry is different. And so bear in mind, as I talk through this, you might find, just like I said to Raymond a second ago, something doesn't work for you and something else does. But I have 5 flagship products, and they're aimed at doing primarily the same thing, which I mentioned earlier. I built all of this stuff around oxygenation. Blood oxygenation is my big thing. And I don't even really know if there's really such thing as an endurance product, because at some point, no matter what you're taking that's jacking you up, ginseng, caffeine, let's say you're an ultra runner, you're doing 150 miles, at the 75-mile point, no amount of ginseng or caffeine is going to keep you up. It's all about your training that's going to get you through it. But the first product I would mention is the Afa Formula. It's among one of, well, they're all my, I was going to say among my, they're all my, I love them all. But Afa is neat because it does use a blue-green algae from Klamath Lakes, California, which is what I call the creme de la creme of the blue greens, because it offers the acronym is AFA. I'll look it up here. I can never pronounce it well, so I'll have to look it up and get the right pronunciation for it. I'll give it to you before we clear out here. But it has got a couple of really great, well-documented properties, one of which is it gives a natural lift. I was talking about this earlier. And it also has a nootropic effect. So there are a lot of competitors, even at the highest level, that still get nervous when they're competing. Experience to the non-experienced, you get nervous. Fortunately, it was not a problem for me. I couldn't wait to compete, but a lot of athletes have this issue. And so it clouds their mind, it makes them nervous. And so AFA is well documented for having this nootropic effect that can help create a clarity and a focus that you might, if you were that kind of athlete, otherwise lose. And so that's a benefit. It also has a natural energy compound to it that's nothing like caffeine, where caffeine might leave you jittery. Caffeine doesn't have that effect on me, but it does on a lot of people. And they don't like taking caffeine for that reason. Plus, of course, tough to sleep at night when you're taking caffeine. But this does not have that byproduct, and it does have a natural lift in it. And that's from that particular blue-green algae, which also have some immune properties too, but I don't really have it in the AFA formula for the immune properties. I have it for the lift, natural lift that it gives you, and an nootropic effect. Also has desiccated liver in there for the iron content. We talked about that earlier. I'm a big believer in as many healthy red blood cells and creating new ones as you can. B12, B6, all the B complex in there, and an electrolyte circuit. Also has echinacea in there for, as I mentioned earlier, again, the immune effect. Athletes are always walking that fine line, sickness and health, and so I try to get a little bit of that in there to help support the immune system. And so I recommend that particular product generally in the morning or in the late morning, early afternoon, and not later. And the only reason I say that is because I've had athletes feed back to me that they've had difficulty getting to sleep at night taking that product. And again, as though it doesn't have any caffeine in it, but it does have that natural lift. So I generally say, look, take it in the morning at the beginning of the day, or in the late morning, no later than 1 or 2 o'clock, and then get it out of your system so you get the lift in the morning. That also has, by the way, vasodilation built into it via beetroot. There's beetroot in that product, and that's the vasodilator in there. Next product would be the Chlorella Stack. It's very similar to AFA. It uses another blue-green chlorella. And I really like chlorella because, as I mentioned earlier, it is documented to bind to heavy metals and pollutants in the bloodstream and clear them out and eliminate them from the body. So I generally recommend that later in the day as part of a recovery, and let's call it a cleansing process. I still find that it's a really good training product as well, because if the chlorella does what it's supposed to do and does clean the bloodstream as it's claimed to do, which I feel it does do, again, this is all independent stuff, you got to decide for yourself, then you're getting cleaner blood going to your muscles when you need it most. Again, training and in competition. So that's one of the reasons I really love the chlorella product. It also has a vasodilator in there. It also has immune product in there. It has a lot of the same ingredients as AFA. It may be exactly the same, except that it uses chlorella instead of AFA. The next product is Oxia, and that is really a simple product. And it's just a pure vasodilator with cordyceps sinensis in it. So that is just pure vasodilation with cordyceps in it. I like that a lot for, again, the major relaxation of the blood vessels, and infused with cordyceps for oxygen delivery. I always recommend that people chase their AFA or their chlorella with Oxia to get a better vasodilation effect. And then the last 2 products I built more recently. I sort of moved out of swimming and competing. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work. And I don't really want to spend my weekends competing anymore. Coaches are always trying to drag me into these things, and I always push back. But what I like to do now is high altitude wilderness walking. So I go up into places like the High Sierra, take a trail to where there are no trails, and I do a bunch of waypoint hiking up at altitude. So it could be anywhere from 9,000 to, 13,000 feet. Generally not higher than that. 14,000 feet, maybe 14,500 feet max. And going up and down through passes and through different altitude levels. So I built a product called AltiFuel. They're exactly the same. There are 2 products. They're exactly the same, except that one uses marine clams because it's got the highest content of iron that I believe that is known in a meat source. And then the other product uses desiccated liver. And the other ingredients in there are designed to push back at hypoxia and acute mountain sickness. And because of the desiccated liver and the marine clam content, a higher iron content for, again, red blood cell development. So those are designed to help high altitude athletes. There are a lot of Leadville 100 or people like me who are walking, up and down through different various passes and altitude levels to keep them strong at altitude, in particular where the air might be a little thinner. So those are those 2 products, and I think those are the 5. The remaining are I'd say the more everyday health products that everybody, including elite level athletes, are interested in. A lot of people are interested in fish oil, krill oil, omega-3, 6s, vitamins, minerals, weight loss, things like that. So the remaining products are just a general grouping of more common everyday supplements that aren't custom formulated. The 5 I just mentioned are all custom formulated by me, and the remaining are just a general, generic, everyday supplements someone might take. In fact, I have a lot of people that don't take any of the flagships. They take only the general supplements because, speaking of trust, Raymond, they've developed a trust for me, and they think that they're buying good product from me. So they're not competing. They're not walking around the mall or whatever it is that they're doing. They just want to be healthy. They like what I'm doing, so they buy the generic supplements.
Let's talk about certain things like cramping. What would you suggest to somebody? I mean, it happens when you're swimming, it happens when you're cycling, it happens when you're running. You get these cramps and it stops you in your place.
Yeah, that's I was a kid. I grew up in New England and read a story about a swimmer drowning in Walden Pond. You probably heard of Walden Pond. That's just it's a pretty cool little spot. And I just couldn't understand that. I didn't understand how a swimmer could drown. I just didn't understand it. It completely was dichotomous with my thinking as a swimmer. Apparently that guy got a cramp, and many years later in California, moved to California. I was competing out there, and I got a cramp on the right side of my back, so devastating that if there weren't lane lines, my mind immediately went back 20 years or 10 years, whatever it was, probably 10 years, to that guy who drowned. And I thought, I get it. I get it. Now, this lane, if I couldn't jump onto this lane line, I don't know what I'd do here. I can get powerfully cramped. That's extreme, and you generally don't hear too much of that, but it will stop you from running, swimming. And, the only way that I know of, and ultra athletes deal with this more than any other kind of athlete, the ultra runners, the extreme athletes, triathletes, anyone doing the big stuff. The longer you're out there in the heat, the more likely is you're going to face off with cramping. And the only way, still, very little has changed under the sun to deal with that. You have to prepare for that way in advance. You have to have the right diet, the right hydration, the right supplements. Here we go, supplements. Potassium is a supplement, by the way. You can eat it in bananas. You can take a product. And if you do a blood test, by the way, after eating a bunch of bananas or taking a synthetic supplement, you'll find that those numbers go up. Potassium numbers will go up, or your electrolyte numbers will go up. So you'd simply have to eat right. And this might be a case when you're an ultra athlete, like Raymond, coming back to the overdosing issue, where, I might, if I was going to do a triathlon, like our host does, she's an animal. She's crazy. She does this stuff. I might go slightly overboard. I might go slightly overboard on those things that help with cramp or cramp prevention. Huge hydration. Hydration's probably the biggest thing. Potassium, electrolytes. I might go a little crazy without really overdosing on that, because by the time you're on the run, Hillary, you tell me, how do you feel when you're finally on the running part of this thing? Besides wanting to just quit and say, why did I do this? I had no idea why I felt like I wanted to do this, but I'm doing it. And now I feel like my right calf is tightening up on me. It's just all about preparation. And anytime, just like your first question early on about the swimmers and how do you hydrate or get gel while you're doing a 6-mile swim, anything you do would cost you time. And it's the same thing in your triathlon here, mini or max. Anything you do to stop, are you there to win? Or are you there just to have fun? If you're there to have fun, then it doesn't matter. Stop, take 5 minutes, rub it out, do whatever you want to do. But if you're in the club of wanting to get something done to get a personal best, stopping's a problem. But I think, look, and I've gone on this, I think the only thing you can do regarding that is proper preparation, understand what causes cramping, and really know your body, because your body is going to react differently than my body under heat stress, which is where I think this happens most. To know, when these things kick in, race management has a lot to do with that too. Really understanding race management, race load, how do you do your swim? Where do you lift it? Where do you not lift it? Where do you lift the run? Where do you lift the biking? You've got to understand your body, but it all comes down to proper nutrition.
When, so full disclosure, when I met Craig, I guess a couple months ago, he introduced me to two of his products, AFA and Oxia. And at the time, I was very, very tired, right? Ray knows. I was just so exhausted.
And you should have
And
been.
I started taking these products, and I actually feel great.
I'm glad that they're working for you.
Amazing. I only take them on the long stuff if I'm going out really long, and I feel like they definitely give me a boost. And if it's all natural and it's not, and it's legal, right? It makes sense.
It's funny you say if it's legal. I did a podcast with a fitness icon out there, and the way he I think you're taking AFA and Oxia, and I think the way he described AFA was legal blood doping, and made me a little nervous when he did that, because as I say, I have a handful of professional athletes, cyclists, and as I say, Olympic trial swimmers right now at Olympic trials that take these products, and I go, geez, don't use that phrase. That's a very nerve-wracking phrase for athletes that get blood tested and urine tested. They don't even want to hear your joke. But I'm glad that you're feeling the lift from them. I'm always happy when someone gets the benefit that I get from it, because it's another success story.
Oh, like today, I just felt like I could just keep going. We did 2 miles. I wanted to keep going, but Ray had to get to work.
Yeah, blame it on me.
It's always that work thing. Anyway, anybody else have questions? Stephen?
No, but can you just put up the website or how to try the products at some point?
Sure. I
Do that,
actually
right.
get a discount code on it if you go to
Is it on our list of sponsors?
yeah,
Okay.
it's on the list, and
Okay.
the code is Hillary20 for 20% off. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, I want to repeat, since we're talking about it here, maybe I'm not the best businessman in the world, but I built this to help people that worked on me. As I say, did a lot of research, spent a lot of time aching over how to gain a competitive edge when it mattered to me. And I built it for me. I didn't build it for anyone else. It's a very purposely selfish, rationally selfish endeavor here to try to take out my competitors, get an edge on them. And when my swimming career ended, I didn't think about, I wish I had a business mind. I should have said, hey, this stuff really worked, it worked on me, and should have gone into business right away, but I didn't think that way at the time. And so, when Hiller and I first talked, I said, well, look, I want you to try the product first. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. No harm, no foul. It doesn't work on everybody. But like a 2% return rate, so a high satisfaction rate at least. And a lot of repeat. But again, the point I'm making is that I expect it'll work on you because it worked on my chemistry, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I don't make any of those guarantees, but I have a strong belief in it. And I really believe if it worked on me, it can work on anybody. And I don't make outrageous claims, so.
I think I've tried a couple of the other products too. Like I think that, and I know these aren't your signature products, but the deep sleep I thought was excellent. I mean, for me, I don't know, I'm sure there are other people out there who have trouble sleeping, and I feel like if I don't recover, I'm not going to be able to do the next day's training or get through it, even a day of work. So I've tried the deep sleep and I thought that that was fantastic. I thought it was better than the melatonin. I've taken melatonin and it just doesn't work for me. This has other properties and it seems to really put me in a very nice sleep. You know,
Actually, that brings up a question, since we don't have access to, labs, at least most of us, to, test our blood frequently. What kind of either performance or biometrics would you recommend, that we look for, basically to quantifiably measure how much better we're doing? I mean, other than just general feeling, because that could just be a placebo effect.
So I'm going to answer that two ways. First of all, I'm a numbers guy too, but I also believe in the placebo effect. If my placebo effect gets me on the Olympic team, God bless the placebo effect. Okay, so let's not dismiss the placebo. So many times, you hear, well, that's just a placebo effect. Okay, but I made the Olympic team, or I had a personal best, or I achieved something. I was out there to get something done, and I got that something done. So I think that the placebo effect is misunderstood. If I can get that to last the duration of my competitive lifespan, I'm all in for that. So, but I understand the question, and it's a good one. So I would just do what one of the professional cyclists did that takes my product. If it matters to you and you really want to know, I wouldn't take any of the product. I'd go do just a simple blood test, look at your biomarkers, and in particular, your red blood cell count. Then I take the product for 30 days and go back and do the test again. That's the way to do it. That's the simplest way I can think to do it, and see if there are any markers that are any different. I have a testimonial. I don't ask for testimonials. They come to me. That's why there's only so many on this side. I could have been that guy that just blew it up with testimonials, but I wait for them to come to me. And one of them came quite naturally from, again, a professional cyclist who has, random blood testing happen to him. And I wish I had it here. I didn't think about it. I'd love to read it because I'm proud of it. But he said, I wish no one knew about this product. I have the blood test to prove how great your product really is. I have to take my blood all the time anyway, and I took it before taking your product. It was X. A month later, after using the product, it was Y, and it definitely has made a difference. The markers are very clear. Again, by the way, just again, another insertion here, disclaimer, this is his chemistry, right? Doesn't mean this is going to happen for you. I always have to feel like I have to point this out rather than be wowing or trying to tell everybody they're going to have the same result. But this is true, and this is real, and it's not made up, and it's a professional cyclist with everything on the line. And so that is how he did it. That's how he did it. He put me to the test without even telling me he was going to do it. And I've got the email to prove it. And I've got the name to prove it. So that's what I would recommend. I mean, I can say anything, right, Raymond? I can say anything and make anything up. I can tell lies and I can tell the truth, and you'd never know the difference. But numbers don't generally lie, depending on your accountant, right? Little joke there, but your lab results probably won't lie. They can be wrong. For example, one of the lab results that is often wrong for me is my potassium level, and that has to do with how they draw blood. So your potassium can be higher than normal just based on how they draw the blood. They can make they can cause a problem with how they draw. So, but by and large, I think you can trust a blood result. I just go take a blood test, in particular for the red blood cell markers, and then do it 30 days later after using it. Okay. The other way to do it, is take it, train with it, and just be as objectively honest with yourself. That's not quantitative, of course, and this sort of moves back to the placebo effect, and some of this has to do with how well you know your body. I can tell you right away, something is working on me. I mean, I know my body, and I know when something's working, when something's not. It's rare that, for me, it's a placebo effect. But the cheapest way to do it is just try it and find out. Now, give me just one more second on this. The reason I like the blood test as an example is I went through an exercise once that had to do with let's just say cleaning up my blood, It was a week-long process. And when I went in, they looked at my blood under a microscope, and it looked one way. And after a week, they looked at my blood again, and it looked like the cosmos. It was beautiful. It was alive. The white blood cells were on attack. The red, everything is unbelievable difference. It was crazy. And I could see it, a visible difference in a medical situation. So it wasn't some sort of quack situation, people making stuff up. But I can tell you I didn't feel any different. I'll never forget the guy who turned me on to it saying, look at this, it's amazing. How do you feel? I said, I don't feel any different, but I can see the difference, and I will never stop doing this routine on the basis of what I can see, because I can see that what I've done here, what we've done here is profound with inside my system. I didn't feel any different. So there's that too. Sometimes you'll take something and it is having a difference internally, but you don't necessarily feel it.
I don't think it's a placebo effect. I really don't. I definitely feel
I don't either.
a difference. I definitely feel like just a little bit more energy than I had before, which was, it just makes me feel like, okay, I could keep going. If I have a, couple of hour bike ride and, run afterwards, so be it. Like, it's not, it's just
Well,
it's very interesting.
I think the reason I trust that you're probably getting the result and it's not placebo is because placebo can't carry you very long when you're training a lot. At some point, with all the training you're doing, you're just going to break down again and go, it worked for a couple of days and I'm tired now. I may have had, it does come to mind, I may have had one placebo effect once that now is coming to mind, where because of how we're talking about it now. A friend of mine was in a multi-level marketing thing. He had some natural drink that he was selling and he wanted me to try it. So I did, and I drank it one day and I went to work out and I blew through a workout. I blew through it. It was just a great workout. I never had that workout again on his product and I stopped taking it. And that's what happened.
That's what I think that's how you tell the difference. I think that's how you tell the difference, because if it works once, it could be a placebo. But if it works, in subsequent times, there's no way it's a placebo.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. That's how I see it too. I think that if it has a lasting effect. Certainly the mind is powerful, and it's certainly possible. I believe this also, that you can carry that placebo effect for a lifetime if you have a high suggestibility. But I think by and large, if something works past several days, it's probably not placebo. You're getting the benefit that these things are supposed to give you. It's my view. So.
Okay. Any other questions before we wrap this up? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Craig. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll put the link on the video and to send it around to everybody as well. And it's on the chat if you want it. And that's it. And thank you very much. And I hope everybody has a good day.
Hey, it was my pleasure. And if you want to reach out, if there's any questions or you want to talk about anything, I do respond to my emails, and it says Craig, my name, Craig, T as in Thomas, D as in Delta, at the company name, biotropiclabs.com. So feel free to reach out. Be happy to respond to anybody's emails if you have any questions or just want to chat.
Thank you, Craig. You've been really helpful. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.